One. All right. On this special bonus episode of The Big Show, we'll review the latest installment for the Marvel Cinematic Universe, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. As we said on the last show, y'all don't really care what we say. Y'all going to see it anyway, but we're going to talk about it. All that coming up next on this bonus overtime episode, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. Let's go. All right. Welcome to the bonus episode, Keeping It Real with Film Gordon. This is the bonus episode of episode 500. So, Charles, without any further ado, man, let's not even waste a lot of time. The 28th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe is Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness. This film tells the story that continues on of Doctor Strange. Well, let me say it this way, because we are going to go spoiler free. It continues the stories that we've seen in the Disney Plus series WandaVision, and also as well as What If. And are there any other elements from any other properties other than the original Doctor Strange that people need to know about in order for us to talk about this film?
I think not. I think everything, I think you covered everywhere.
Now, in this film, Doctor Strange travels into the multiverse to protect America Chavez, a teenager capable of traveling between universes, from Wanda Maximoff, or the Scarlet Witch, played by Elizabeth Olsen. As I said,
hold up, time out.
I'm reading the description. I'm not making this up. This is what they wrote. Because I got in trouble a couple of days ago from a good friend of mine. I was telling him about the movie, and he was like, that wasn't in the trailer. I'm like, that's not spoiling anything. You can sort of figure that out. No. Hey, man, watch this.
No.
That was a description written by Disney. That's not like Tim pulled that out. I'm reading what they wrote, right?
Okay, all right.
So if you want to get mad at somebody at home watching, talking about, why you do? Dude, I'm reading this from the Marvel website. This is not my description. This is their description. So one more time, let me repeat. This film tells the story of Doctor Strange, who travels into the multiverse to protect America Chavez, a teenager capable of traveling between universes, from Wanda Maximoff, played by Elizabeth Olsen. The film was directed by Sam Raimi. It stars Benedict Cumberbatch as Stephen Strange, alongside Elizabeth Olsen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Benedict Wong, Michael Stuhlbarg, Mrs. Gomez, I can't pronounce her first name, and Rachel McAdams. Charles, I will start because you're the guy that brings a lot of knowledge to this situation. This movie is really hard to talk about without spoiling anything for anybody, but pretty much, if you've watched WandaVision, after the death of Vision in Endgame, no, it wasn't in Endgame. It was in Infinity War. Am I correct?
Right.
Yeah. So after the death of Vision in Infinity War, Wanda helps, along with everybody else, defeat Thanos in Endgame. And at the end of Endgame, and of course, if you haven't seen it by now, this movie came out 3 years ago, so don't tell me I'm spoiling anything. Iron Man dies in this film, right? Captain America leaves, and there's a really emotional moment with Wanda and I'm trying to remember. Oh, it was a Wanda and Hawkeye, right? Because we lost Scarlet. What's her name? Her character.
Black Widow.
We lost Black Widow and we lost Vision in this fight to take down Thanos. And I remember them standing at Tony's memorial, and he was like, "You think they know?" And she's like, "Yeah, they know, right?" So after that film, we go to the Disney Plus series, WandaVision, where Wanda, who is in a really bad emotional state with her mind, creates a world in New Jersey where she brings Vision back to life. She creates an entire community before, along with what's her name? It was her all along.
Agatha Harkness.
Yeah, so there's a huge backstory that if you've watched that show, you would understand Wanda's motivation and what Wanda is feeling, right? The loss of her family, the loss of her man that she really, really loves. And then to fast forward, you go forward several months, and it was another Disney Plus series called What If? And What If explored these alternate multiversal stories about what if, and my favorite one was what if Stephen Strange lost his heart instead of his hands, right? And a lot of what happened in that particular episode of What If, along with what Wanda went through in WandaVision, kind of framed the background of the story that they're telling you in Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So again, without spoiling anything, man, there's this young woman who's got these special powers. And when someone has some powers, there's always somebody trying to get the powers from those people. You've got, much like in Captain America Civil War, where you have one group of heroes who see it one way and a second group of heroes that see it another way. We are back at that again, Charles, where you have multiple philosophies where one wants to protect something and the other one wants it for their own selfish gain. And America is stuck in the middle, and it plays out in a story that I think is amazingly entertaining, very well done. Marvel now, as I said earlier, with this as being their 28th film, it's clear, Charles, that we've seen the progression of the technology over the years, from back in 2008 to now 2022, 15 years they've been making these movies. And there's some visuals of how Sam Raimi tells this is a horror movie. This is like the first horror movie that comes out of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it is an intense story to watch, man. You've got a lot of elements of things that, for a person like me who was a novice and didn't read these stories, I'm looking over at Charles, because Charles sits next to me when I'm watching. I'm like, Charles, what the heck's going on? What is this right here? But again, the one saving grace that I can say for this movie, which worked really, really well for me, is that by virtue that I had watched all of these MCU films and then had watched all the MCU stories that were told on Disney Plus, I didn't feel, this is the first time in a while that I've watched a movie in this universe where I didn't feel totally lost. Like, I knew a lot of what was going on because I knew the backstories from having watched these different characters and their different motivations. There are a lot of surprises in this movie. And as Charles will attest, I was in the theater screaming like a baby, like, no, they didn't put, what, that, ooh. So it was a lot of fun for me watching this movie because there were lots of things I did not expect. Charles had to send me homework after the movie on a couple of characters and to understand this world. But I think if this is not necessarily the first Phase 4 film, but I think this is going to be one of the Phase 4 films that will really define moving forward over the next couple of years the various possibilities that exist of what the MCU could represent for characters that we've seen before and know, characters that can be different, characters that we think are gone that can come back, characters that can appear in a different form in another universe. There's a lot of stuff that this movie sets up. And for me, I gave it a B+. I enjoyed this movie a lot. Can't wait to go back and see it again. It's a reason, Charles, that as I pulled up the description to talk about it, it's already at $120 million, and the day is Friday. It's at $120 million already. So this movie is going to be huge. If you thought Spider-Man No Way Home was a big one, this one's going to be huge for Marvel. So that's my take on it. Charles, what say you? And I'm gonna listen up because you're the guy that has all the knowledge about this stuff. So talk to me about Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
I think you'll agree with me that one of the most successful movies that Marvel has made has been Captain America: The Winter Soldier. And I think that was because they crossed the boundaries of just being a comic book movie into a movie that had another genre attached to it, being the espionage thriller that you have here. I think this movie does much of the same that Captain America does by crossing genres. This is not just an average comic book story. This is a horror film told in with Doctor Strange and Wanda Maximoff. I thought it was a real, you have to appreciate the work of Sam Raimi in here, because a lot of the stuff that he's done with his Evil Dead franchise, with Army of Darkness, all these things that we see Bruce Campbell, and we see Bruce Campbell in this film as well. All of the stuff he just brings into this film, and he just creates the atmosphere. And you say it's a lot of technology but these are things that he's done in the past in some of those other films that just shake you to your core. And there's some scenes in this film that are pretty frightening, especially for little children. Is a horror film. This is why it's PG-13, not PG, like some of the other Marvel Studios films. I think it's a great film. I really thought that knowing that Wanda Maximoff was a spoiler, that she's the villain of this film. I don't think everybody knew that going into this film, but Sam Raimi, he doesn't play around. I think that we talked about it before. This movie is only 2 hours and 6 minutes, and that's maybe with 10 minutes of end credits. And so he gets into this story from the second the film starts. You're already in the adventure. There's no time for all this backstory and development that they go through, but he does get it in as the story goes on. I think he's a master of creating a story with action, with tension, and I thought it was an A film. I gave it an A as my grade. Just on top of because of the combining of the two worlds, the comic book and the horror. Oh man, but I mean, for those who are Marvel fans who want to see comic book references, there's a whole bunch of things in this film. Just like Tim was saying, he was jumping out of the seat. I'm elbowing him, saying, "Look, look." Yeah, it was just a delight for me. I think it's one of the best movies of the summer. We just started, but I mean, as you can tell, 120 million in the first 2 days. This movie is dynamite movie.
So Charles, what do you say? Because one of the things that because I talked to a bunch of our colleagues about this who are much more versed in this world than I, and I've had a couple of complaints about it was just too much stuff. It was like sensory overload. It was just because there's a lot of stuff going on here, man. I mean, you've got again, not spoiling it. There are a lot of things going on, man.
And happening quickly, and it happens quickly too. It's not just like it takes time. He does it quickly, and if you don't catch it, he's on to the next beat. If you haven't caught it. So, I mean, there's a lot of beats, and to the point where, as I'm driving home, I saw it with my sons this morning. We have to go over all what the difference between multiverse and the difference in timelines, because when we watch Loki, we talked about different timelines, and you have different Lokis. Well, in a universe, it's different. A universe can have multiple timelines within it, but each universe has its. I mean, so when you see a character in one universe, it's going to be the same character in another universe. until you get to the differences in timelines that happen within each universe. So it's a lot of information going on in this film, a lot of history, but a lot of foretelling as well. So I mean, we know we're going to see America Chavez further down the line. We know we're going to see Doctor Strange further down the line, and I mean, you got two end credit scenes that are going to blow your mind. It's a lot going on. It's a big movie.
So let me just say this, man, as a person who, I'm not going to repeat, like I always tell people, I didn't come into this world reading these comics, right? But I am a film critic. And the one thing that I would say, 28 movies, and I think I want to six or seven Disney Plus shows down the line from 2008 to 2022, right? Over the last 15 years. The one thing that I am just in awe of is the ability of Kevin Feige and his lieutenants, Victoria Alonso, Louis D'Esposito, and like the names that you see, Nate Moore, the names that you see over and over on every Marvel project. The ability, when I heard them use the phrase initially, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, I was like, oh, that sounds nice to say. But they literally created a universe because we now have seen characters, whether, and I know that, they're on Disney Plus now, the Luke Cage, Daredevil, Jessica Jones, you just had Moon Knight, you've had Hawkeye, you've introduced all, you got Mrs. Marvel coming pretty soon. You've done the what if stuff. Everything that they've done, Charles, is a part of what I call this huge quilt, right? Whether it's 28 patches of all the different MCU movies, whether you can now put patches on for all the Disney Plus shows. But when you wrap that blanket around you, it is this comprehensive look at the imagination of people like Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and others who came up with all these rich, various, characters who we're now seeing these worlds play out. I just think it's genius. I think the whole thing is really genius. And as we said earlier in the other show, there have been films like the first two Thors that I thought was just okay. First Avenger had to grow on me. I'm not a big fan of Iron Man 3. So I could really probably count on one hand the ones that really didn't work. But for the most part, I think when you put them all together, they're great individually, but they're all a part of a universe of storytelling. And I think that they're killing it, which is a reason why there's so much interest every time one of these movies come out. They have trained the audience that you don't get up and leave because we got end credit scenes. They trained the audience that no matter how it starts, that, until you see the Marvel Studios logo show up, like, okay, now we in the movie. They have trained the audience over the course of 15 years and 28 movies. It has just been fascinating to watch. And with Thor, Love and Thunder coming out in July, Black Panther 2 coming out November the 11th, the sky is the limit, man. So Charles, Black Panther 2, what is it called? Wakanda
Forever.
Will be the 30th film in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. That's 30.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep. And the great thing about it is this cinematic universe is really, really just like reading comic books. I mean, you start off with in the beginning with Iron Man, and you move all the way up. Each story builds on each other, and you start weaving these wonderful tapestries together. And what you're experiencing when you went to Doctor Strange and you sat down and I said, oh yeah, I know this, and I know this, I've seen this. That's the same thing that, as a comic book fan that I grew up on. I'm reading from this source and reading from this source, and it all comes together in a bigger storyline, even though, Doctor Strange has his own book, and Spider-Man has his own book, and Guardians of the Galaxy over here. But in overall, that's where, like you said, Stan Lee, who Kevin Feige is now the new Stan Lee, where he's got the overarching editing of all this stuff, putting it all together to make it seamless as one big story.
Wow. All right. So what a great, oh, you said you gave it an A and I gave it a B plus. So pretty much the audience didn't care because they're going to see it anyway. But we just had to talk about it, man, because I really enjoyed my time watching this film. And for the most part, minus the Eternals, I'm usually going to enjoy myself. Still so confused about that movie. But let's get out of here, man. So that's our look at the one movie that we're going to talk about this weekend in this bonus episode. Of course, Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is playing everywhere. Good luck getting the ticket this weekend, though. Good luck. So please check it out. So we tell you in closing every week, please see something good at the movies. If I were you and you can find a friend that can get you a ticket, get in to see Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness this weekend, and you're welcome. Until next time, you guys take care, and we'll see you guys on the other side. The bonus room is closed. You guys take care and enjoy your Mother's Day weekend. Bye.